There's a certain insult to injury in this bull run because the market has a strange way of humbling everyone. And what I was afraid of coming into Q4 was the side of the boat that everyone was on. People were all in agreement that Q4 is going to be unbelievable. It's Q4 2025. This is it, right? And there's good reason for people to be bullish on that because historically this is the quarter that all the rock and rolls happens. But it's never that simple. You know, if it was, and I sometimes I like to think it is, right? If you just zoom out, it is quite a simple cycle. Bear market, slow build, parabolic blow off top historically, but again, there's so few data points to really, it's all we know. It's basically a toddler right now. So some people call Bitcoin a teenager. I think it's still a toddler. I would say it's, around 8. It's around 8 years old. It's still, it needs attention from the parents, but ideally almost wants to be left alone. It kind of it understands that life is better without these 2 nut bars around me. That's the age Bitcoin is. Now, if everyone thinks that Bitcoin's going up for sure, there's one thing that is for sure. It's not. And so what people are doing, I think, is that they're basically YOLOing and FOMOing in with Hail Marys, like this is it. This has got to work. I mean, this has got to be it. And that's exactly the type of fear that the market gobbles up in a heartbeat. It's like, oh, look at all these desperate traders looking to get rich. Give me all your money, please. And now you got to remember this dump, when we go right from the top, One second here. 1 second. When you go right from the top, whoa. Whoa. I'm just about to finish a thought here, Drew. 1 second. This massive dump from the wick, no less, to the wick. Like, you're not going to believe this. Hold on a second. I almost didn't believe it myself. This can't be true. Now, to put it into perspective, into bullish perspective, this massive dump from 126 down to last night's was 103.9 was not even 18% from the all-time high, let's call it. Now, we all know, and I'm almost getting sick of talking about it. This is not a massive dump. This is an 18% pullback. This is every day for the past 8 years, 18%, nothing. Now, my takeaway from the sentiment that I see on X is that the market is too fragile. It needs a hard lesson on what pain is, because 18%, my friends, that's not pain. And I'm afraid it's not painful enough. Like, it's going to have the market will humble you, just when you think, you've seen it all or you've felt as much pain as you possibly can, the market goes, here's a little more. How'd you feel about that dump last night, Drew?
I mean, I woke up and honestly, like, initially, or the course of the beginning of the week, I was like, damn it, really aggravated, like Uptober psyop feelings. And then I remembered, dude, it's like where I was 5 or 6 years ago compared to how far I've come in life because of crypto and because of just blind hate of the Federal Reserve and a refusal to allow those pricks to control my money from a fundamental level beyond all price action has gotten me to where I am today. You know what I mean? So, Like the Bitcoin I got was like $4,000. The Twitter timeline is kind of pathetic. It's a bunch of squishy tourists in this orgy of pain and suffering together, and somehow they're all underwater. Apparently everybody in the planet was top blasting and nobody took profits, Matty. And that's something that is quite aggravating to me, is seeing people not take profits at all on a 3 or 5x on whatever shit coin, write it back down, then say the whole industry's a scam because they didn't have the balls to take profits, right? And it is a personal, like, this is a personal problem with people not being happy enough with a 2 or 3, 5x, because they absolutely were there for, like, we've had multiple different impulses through multiple sectors over the past few years. Not to mention Bitcoin's still over 100K. You know what I mean? I look kind of crazy right now. I just got from the gym. You know, and also having something outside of just your up only hopes in life is very, very important. Steak, for instance, as me and Matty B talk about. I got some steak with me right now. Family, legacy. Having something beyond your bags and the numbers on the screen, it is so much more important than monetary gain. And so when I see this Bitcoin chart, Matty B, you came on my show and you warned me about this. You warned me the same day my wife said it was a local top. We are going into uncharted territories. We are in stagflation, but also there are midterms coming up in 2026. There's a lot of reasons to cook the books into a positive direction to make people go to the polls with a little bit of hope, thinking that Trump is still the cool guy and that they might be able to get more GOP leadership in the internal mechanisms of American politics. So there's a lot of reasons for quantitative easing to have a short window. And essentially, if we think that we're going to be able to mirror the 4-year cycle to a T, while BlackRock and all these massive organizations are sitting here now holding their bags, and we are going to outtrade them with their trillions of dollars, I think we got another thing coming for us, Matty. So, it's a 24, maybe like 22% pullback from the all-time high, right? Isn't that about
18.
right? Is a 18. That ain't nothing, right?
Depending on what chart you're on, because the oracles aren't firing. So, like, for instance, this is Bitfinex. Well, if you go to the scam wick, it's a little lower. It's like 103.1 right here. But then if you go to the daily chart, I mean, it only went down to 108. So I mean, what do you, which price point do you take? So, because if you're doing like some of the analysis on this 4-hour chart, that which once wicked will get candlesticked. The most accurate TA in the world is that kids choir always screaming that, and this is basically what we did. We just candlestick this wick. We know it's almost like a CME gap of sorts when you see one of these candles. Unfortunately, like, the recovery is nice to see. But then the rejection from the 200, you almost know we're going to go and stamp that ticket down at the wick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, I've seen 102 and 103 are basically structurally important, I think, in the shorter term. Let me back. Oh, I'm a little bit too zoomed in. So, I just from my view, like 102 and 99 mean a lot. But honestly, dude, if we lose them and we can get a bear market actual rollover, and somehow the basic mechanics of a 4-year cycle outdo trillion-dollar asset managers with their bags involved, then we're looking at an entry point of like $60,000 Bitcoin, which sounds absolutely fantastic to me, right? I've been complaining about Max Payne being up only for a long time, even though I'm still up on my alts, even with the bloodshed all over the damn place. I insulated myself, right? I insulated myself. People get aggravated with me because I'm not holding the same bags that they are. I don't care, right? I insulate myself. I'm just a public crypto investor, and my experience is just basically publicized. It's not that I'm giving advice, that everyone just gets to see what I'm doing, and they get to see when I fail and when I succeed, right? And I'm not going to be shy about talking about how important it is to take freaking profits when they're on the table, especially right now. You know, it's just like, you know, it's a little aggravating for me, Matty, because we had really, really good pumps in March of 2024, really, really good pump in December 2024. We just hit new all-time highs, maybe like a half a month ago on Bitcoin. And
Yeah.
now we shave off 18% and everyone's just, oh, it's over. I can't do this anymore, and it's super aggravating, Maddie, because like digital IDs, monetary controls, capital controls, bank bail-ins, the government stealing your cash out of your bank account is a reality people just refuse to acknowledge. And the ethos, I think everyone that's really shooken up about seeing these scratches, I really think needs to examine why they are in crypto. Are you in crypto for up only price action, or are you in crypto for the power that Bitcoin gave us? Right? You can make that decision. If you don't understand the power that Bitcoin gave us, I urge you to go read more about the basics of Bitcoin, right? The basics of Bitcoin I really think are important. And I think that long-term outlook is gonna pay off exponentially well. People are sitting here looking at gold, wishing that their alts and their Bitcoin look like that. But guess what? Bitcoin's done even better than gold, right? So it's something to think about, right?
This is the weekly chart of gold. That is a hell of a consecutive weekly green print.
I think it's gonna, I think it's gonna have a moment where it's got to take a calm down.
It's 30% though. I mean, it's 30%. That's a great run for like a legacy asset like gold.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong, it's a great run for gold.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we wouldn't even be that happy if we saw 30% from here to the end of the bull market. So, for instance, if we were to have, let's say, a copycat run of gold for the next 60 days and we ran up 32% from where we are right now, we'll just go from the wick here, or the bottom of the wick. 30, let's call it would be right up to the top of this ascending channel, of course, channel of ascension, 136. Now, people would be happy, but would they be happy enough? Probably not. And that would be that's gold's run.
Right. And I think gold can still hit like 5Gs and do like a 2X, from that 2,500 spot. I do think that that's actually in store. The interesting thing about what we're knocking on the door of, Matty, is we've never been through the economic situation we are in right now with Bitcoin, ever, right? Bitcoin's never seen a market come to a standstill in terms of stagflation. And really, it's uncharted territories, man. Like, these are uncharted territories. Like, I have a general vibe for where gold's going to go from the 79 to 81 movement. But there was no Bitcoin at that time. There was no other option for sovereign value, especially being stored on chain or accessible in transferred on the internet, right? So that's something that it's not lost on me that we are basically, going into the unknown. But the other option for me is to, go into real estate, which I get actively taxed on, and insurance is basically going to continue going to the moon on real estate. I don't feel like going into gold because, it's difficult to transport. And, I've had seasons in my life where I was in gold and I made good, like a 2X on gold. I felt incredible. It's like 1,200 to 2,500 last cycle. But this situation right now with Bitcoin, man, like looking at certain moving averages, they have some value, but I'm looking at the intention and the incentive of the US to do quantitative easing into 2026. And I really think that the general structure of this 4-year cycle, if you back up all the way, is going to look pretty similar. It's actually, in my opinion, going to be like a 4.5, maybe even 5-year cycle. as weird as it sounds. Just from all the incentives the current administration has to kickstart the real estate market back over, kickstart the automobile, the vehicle sales market back over. And this is crazy, Maddie. Since those H-1B visa holders and their loans, the FHA loans have gone away, $7 trillion in real estate activity walked out the door. They were using our tax dollars, American tax dollars, to overpay for fucking houses and increase
in Canada
price.
too.
Yeah. And now in America, they're gone. And that metric of FHA H-1B visa loans is basically zero. So we just had $7 trillion walk out the door here. And all of a sudden, now today, regional banks are under stress. This kind of looks like 2023, right? So, it's real. I have nowhere else to go for monetary energy housing other than Bitcoin, because I will get actively taxed on every other vehicle that I decide to put my cash in, right? And I'm not holding the cash. I've refused to hold the cash. So it is what it is, man.
Or you might need that cash if that digital ID sneaks in, which they're going to go for it.
I'm not gonna. No. If digital ID comes in, people like me are going to be for a fight of their lives instead of just an argument at the store about, that's basically a deadly threat in my view, and many people like me in America's view. And FAFO, right? FAFO. So it is.
That's why I
I've
love
lived
America.
A long, good life. I've lived a long, good life, and I got a good legacy. So.
Yeah, you essentially at this point you're kind of doing it for the argument I get into with boomers is that they don't see the legacy at hand because they're going to miss it, they're going to die, right? But we see it as parents, like are we going to leave the children in this dystopian tax farm where everything they do is controlled by just a retarded government? It's just so sad.
It depends on if you allow it, right? I mean, it really does depend on a human level, on an organic level, if you as a person allow your government to get to that point. It literally does. Yeah, Robin Hood making him scan his face yesterday to log in. It's one thing to I'm not too shy about saying the things that I say. I don't want to hide them, because people like me in America are the only fucking reason why we didn't have tyranny actual in 2020.
That's right.
The U.S. government looked at 20 million Americans saying the things that they were on social media with their AI aggregation system through Palantir, and they realized, oh shit, even though we act like these people don't exist anymore, and we act like the idea of 1776 is just a mirror of the past, there is a large contingent of humans in the continent of America that feel the exact same way I do. And their algorithm realized it. So they backed off, right? They're trying to boil us like a frog in water.
That is it. Yeah, and thank the Lord for that standing army in the States, because really that's the last bastion of freedom, really, because Canada, there's the only people with guns here are hunters and then the black market. So there's no standing up here. You just basically have to go. So for instance, to fight the digital ID up here, you're going to have to be able to tread water for probably a good year. And like at that point, I don't know, maybe you can't even drive, because everything will be attached to the digital ID. I just wanted to walk through some quick TA here. Some bullish and bearish stuff. So on this 4-hour chart, look at this channel of descension that we've basically been riding till we broke out here. This was in September. We broke out of it, and now we're almost back into it. We dipped back in through a wick, and we're fighting to get over it now as resistance, which would be 107, let's say. So 107 breaks out to here. I definitely won't be bullish till we're back up here at the 61.8% fib, which is 112. Like, remember when we were at 112? It's like, oh, 112. And now it's like, can we just get back to 112? Now, logically speaking, if we get rejected from 1.7, we'll probably go down and test support down at that 100K level, which is a big psychological level down here. When was the last time we retested it? Oh, we retested it back here when it was 108, and that was September 1st. It seems like 8 years ago that we did that. That's the 4-hour chart, noisy little so-and-so. And now on the daily chart, you can see we've broken out of this channel of eternal monotony that we've basically been in since way back in May. We've just been chugging along, essentially kind of doing nothing. Like if you really look at this chart, since we entered this, it's a noisy chart too. I can't believe how these charts are getting crazy. But we don't want to be under the 200 moving average on the daily chart. To put it into perspective, we haven't been under the 200 moving average on the daily chart since April, when we hit that low of 77, right? But again, we always revert to the mean, and 200 moving average is a great reversion. I mean, it's healthy, as painful as people might think it is healthy, and it's how we kind of heal the economic distortions. Everything you were talking about with the visas and the real estate market, those are economic distortions brought on by a retarded government, right? Yes. So those things have to clear out. You can't keep on going and compounding these economic distortions, or you just get this Frankenstein of an economy that has, and that's what we have up in here in Canada. Like it's a Frankenstein economy. There's zombies everywhere. Nothing really works. You're gaslit into thinking things are working, but they're definitely not. So for a healthy outlook for today, then this isn't really that great. It's 108.3. Just to get back into this channel of eternal monotony. Now, bulliciously speaking, I would like to maybe pump this weekend up to these eyeballs at 116. I think at 116 you might begin to feel the healing of the sentiment, but I don't know about you. I'd prefer if the tourists just left. You know, like they're it's like having a party, having your close friends there, and then they all bring a friend from work or something, and they don't understand the humor. You know, they're a little bit too drunk and they're a little bit too emotional, and you're just like, man, I wish these people would kind of leave the party, because they are weighing down the normal people. Like when I look at that 18% dump last night, yeah, it's like it doesn't feel great. But man, it's nothing. Are we dead inside? Is that the question? Are we dead?
I think we're just invigorated with something beyond short-term monetary outlook. I think Bitcoin and the idea of how Bitcoin is supposed to be an alternative to banks is being lost, because we get so hopeful on all of this, bank integration and government integration of crypto. I think that a big washout would actually bring back that it would clear the path for you to just see the cypherpunks that are out there literally building a parallel financial system, right? And I miss those days, Matty. I really, really do. The moment that BlackRock and the stupid ETF came into town, I hated it. I didn't say that it was going to be, I said yes, bullish for price, but bearish for control of Bitcoin, for control of Bitcoin mining, for centralization of the powers that be that are already in control, then further extending their control, the tiny hats gripping the Bitcoin market as well. And I don't want that, right? I want something, outside of, I don't want to get you banned. Okay. But Bitcoin.
Do your worst.
Bitcoin is the only way outside of a hard military split that we can actually separate ourselves from the design of central bank usury and a country that's about the size of New Jersey that seems to be in control of most of the money across the planet, right? So without military invention,
Santa Lucia?
Bitcoin. What's that?
Santa Lucia?
No, it's not Felucia, it's Israel. Okay.
Okay.
So like outside of that, Bitcoin is the conversational battle against usury, right? And I'm not giving up on that battle basically ever. I do think that this can be won, but it needs to be done at an organic level. People need to understand that your bank and what your money is in the bank is no longer your money. It's not
Right.
your money. It's the bank's money. And that's the difference that people just can't get through their skull. And you lose 10, 15% of your value in that dollar as the idiot bank that took your money goes out and lends it out for their further leverage plays, their investments, and things of that nature. And they keep you in the dark, man. So it's about kind of bucking up and demanding control, taking back sovereignty as a human on a fundamental basis. Put your money where your mouth is a phrase that's a very old phrase, but I think the explanation of it matters a lot right now. The expression of monetary movement is more powerful than the free speech expression, because where you put your money, then that industry grows, right? It's not, you can say something's good about whatever industry, it doesn't matter. If there's no money flowing into that industry, if there's no economic expression moving into the industry, it dies, right? Words mean less than monetary conversation. So, it's time for people to decide what matters more.
That
It's time for them.
15% that people are losing is such a weird number because it's such an unbelievably high number that people don't understand, right? So when people hear that, they almost are okay with it, because I have these conversations all the time about debasement and inflation, and I think it's a high enough number that it's they don't believe it. So as long as they don't believe it, because if you really fully understand debasement of 15% of your net worth a year, it may be too hard to fathom. It's like maybe the worst news they've ever heard in their life. So my question is, if 15% is too much for them to fathom it, that they don't understand it, that they, draw a blank and look past it, almost like they regress to some sort of time in their life where they didn't know that knowledge. What is the number that wakes people, the normies, up about debasement and inflation? Is it 30%?
I don't know if normies are ever going to wake up, dude. Like,
That's a good
we
point.
try our damnedest, but like, they've lost 10% on what the dollar can actually buy, the power of the dollar. But at the same time, they've experienced 40, 50%, sometimes 100% increase in the cost of goods, right? So if you go from 100K of buying power down to 90K of buying power, and what you're going to buy, instead of costing 100K, now costs 160K, right? And you only got 87 now to work with. You lose exponentially quickly in that scenario, where you're losing on what you're actually spending, and what you're trying to buy is exploding and going hyperinflationary to the upside. And I think, the political intentions of printing I mentioned, they're going to cause a collapse up, right? And this was the people that said collapse up, myself included, we were looked at like idiots, right? And like, no, the housing market's got to pull back, right? There's no way they could do this. And now they're finding out, right? The government's going to use our own tax dollars to keep houses off the market. They're going to use whatever mechanisms they can to keep the prices of housing high. They want you to own nothing, right? They literally want you to own nothing. And guess what? BlackRock, while they're sitting here with their little Bitcoin play, Blackstone is actually layering into Section 8 housing, subsidiary of BlackRock. They're layering in tens of billions of dollars into Section 8 housing. They're banking on the middle class basically disappearing.
It's a good bet.
Yeah. I mean, and Warren Buffett's going into Domino's Pizza. They're going into Section 8 housing and Domino's Pizza, right? $5 pizzas and, basically government provided housing, right? So, if you want to be in that situation in 5 years, by all means, sell, get mad about your 15, 20% pullback, and enjoy, 10% losses on your buying power year over year as things go to the moon in terms of assets, right? Banks don't want us to get assets.
True. To their defense, to the normies' defense, is that we take for granted the amount of research we do on a daily basis. Like, so it's not, making content on YouTube about Bitcoin isn't a part-time gig or hobby that you just kind of fly into. Maybe it is for some, but anyone who's this deep, and it's I would say that the majority of the people in this community, it's a full-time, you're learning all the time. Now the normies that are at a job, especially in Canada, they're just doing their job. So all this talk of money is just an abstract mental construct to them. They've never even questioned what money is, let alone the mechanics of it. So when things are happening to it, it's almost, to them, it's like the weather. It's like, oh man, it was sunny and now it's cloudy. What the hell's going on? I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I don't know what it is. I'll just wait for the sun to come up. The sun's going to come out eventually, right? It's not going to be cloudy forever. We're going to have some good weather days, aren't we? So it's really not their fault. I suppose that's what we're doing here, but it's almost like you're back to that party analogy. When moments like this in the crypto markets, it's like 6 a.m. You're coming off of mushrooms. all the people, the troublemakers in the party have left. They've gone home. It's just you and your homies, maybe out on the deck. The sun's coming up. It's been a great night. Now you have more to look forward to. All the trouble has been erased. I feel like we're entering that. But before we get there, I do believe there's a little more pain coming. So let's go down a little Max Payne porn here just to get the numbers off. And, here we go with these. Now, I hate making these time stamping these videos of probabilities, but if we do a 30% pullback, which is so absolutely normal, that, back in 2021, 30% pullback wasn't even really getting the engine revving. It was like, okay, here's a pullback, 30%. If we were to see a pullback from 126, 30%, that would be 88K.
Yep.
You can imagine, the 88K is such a, we've been here where 88K was a pullback, and 88K is a number in Asia that is like it's immense good luck, right? So you can see that how this would have this psychological aspect with half the world, whoever's trading over there. But that's where Max Payne would come. But remember this too. Max Payne doesn't hit 30%. Max Payne wicks under 30%, just to drive everyone like into the grave. And then it closes the candle at 30%. And that's where Max Payne would go. Now, I don't want to see 88K because I don't want to deal with the sentiment. But however, maybe that's where we get to the deck with our best friends after the mushroom trip, enjoying the sunrise after the crazy party.
You're speaking a lot of truth there, and it's really I understand why people that are new to crypto are super concerned, but having a long-term vision of how much this government hates you is very, very important when it comes to becoming a true OG in Bitcoin, right? We can have all the numbers and all the things that we flush out down to, and really we're living in Trump's world right now, but the main focus that Bitcoin was created for was creating a parallel financial system to an eroding, failing fiat currency. Your dollar, your yen, whatever currency it is that's sitting in your bank account right now is not yours, and it is failing. You must act aggressively. And if I see an $88,000 Bitcoin price come into play, I am backing the truck up just like I did in 2020. Change your life forever, grow some balls, and lean into the danger. That's the only way you're getting out of this alive. Love and appreciate y'all. Take care.
Make sure you like and subscribe.